Tell you something else. There's an element of this bill that is particularly noxious. It's buried in there, which is the Democrats are trying to overturn the Supreme Court's West Virginia versus EPA victory came just a month ago, where the court concluded the EPA didn't have the ability to rewrite our environmental laws to regulate carbon. Apparently, Joe Manchin has cut a deal with Chuck Schumer to slip into this bill language overturning that decision, which empowers the EPA to destroy your job. And I'll tell you, there's no group that is getting hammered more by this terrible bill than coal miners in West Virginia. It is insane that when we're facing a recession and skyrocketing inflation, the Democrats are saying, let's hit working men and women even harder so we can pay off our lobbyist billionaire buddies.
Senator, can you expand? I'm not aware of this to overturn West Virginia versus EPA. I don't know what the language is. You are a legal scholar. How does this work? What are they saying? What's in here? Because I think you're breaking some news here.
So what the Supreme Court concluded is that the Clean Air Act doesn't specify regulating carbon dioxide, and they concluded that this is a major policy shift, and if Congress intends to make a major policy shift, Congress has to do it, not unelected bureaucrats. That was a great victory for manufacturers, for small businesses, for energy consumers. But of course, radical environmentalists hate it. So what this bill does is it writes in place several times, carbon, carbon, carbon. It writes it into the EPA law so that they can go back and say, well, now Congress has done this. And apparently Manchin's cut a deal where he's gotten a promise for a pipeline sometime in the future in West Virginia. And in exchange for that, the coal miners all get screwed. And he basically puts the coal industry out of business and drives oil and gas prices in America up dramatically. Consumers are getting the short end of the stick on this, and it's a power grab by the radical left. I don't know why Joe got snookered on this, but I hope he comes to his senses and remembers that bankrupting a bunch of coal miners in West Virginia is a really bad idea.
Joel and Matt. Hello, everybody.
Michael, there you are.
First thing I want to say, the name of the bill is called Inflation Reduction Act. Yeah. Just want to let everybody know.
Who could be against that?
Yeah. Too bad they put a bunch of pork in it. That has nothing to do with inflation. So.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
So Joel, I'll have you know that producer Matt here selects our videos and our clips, and so he sets the agenda. And we should address the videos, the content of the videos, at least up front, and then we can go on to other topics. Was this a current clip? Like,
yes, this happened about, I believe, 23 hours ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because the Supreme Court ruling was, back
a month ago.
A month ago.
What they're trying to do in this bill is trying to reverse that and make it where the EPA can actually control carbon. And not only that, there's also in the bill, like most people, when they look at the bill, I looked at it, it's pretty much a reincarnation of Build Back Better, and it has implements of the Green New Deal mixed in. Such as when it comes to taxes, if you have kids, you get, instead of normally like $2,000 per kid, you're getting almost $4,000. The other thing is, if you're married, you're getting a reduction of $1,200. So they incentivize you not to get married in the bill. There's also another thing is $80 billion is going to the IRS, which I'm guessing they're going to use for more ammo. I don't know.
Yeah.
But what else was there? There's other things about the bill that makes you wonder, what does this have to do with inflation? Because
they're spending, I don't know about you, Matt, but inflation, the way I always had to define when I was in school is too much money chasing too few goods. solving inflation is relatively simple. Stop overspending money and stop printing money. Like it's, and just, that's why we have inflation, but they don't want to do that. So this is, I doubt it has much to do with inflation now. So.
I remember learning that I guess part of the government's job, this is when I was real young, there's all these different mints. I was a coin collector, so that's kind of my entry into it. I'm like, oh, this was in the Philadelphia mint, and this was in the D for, I guess, a Denver mint. So there was a little on the coin, it would say D or a P or whatever. So that opened my mind. I was like, oh, the government creates money, obviously. And then I thought, well, do they just create it forever and ever? And they also destroy money, right? They take money out of circulation, right? They collect it and take it out. So what needs to happen now is for them to destroy a bunch of money instead of printing more money, right? It's like, we've got too much. We've got to, in the context that I heard it was, those old bills, when they just get so old, those are the ones they accumulate and they just destroy those ones. But they just, anyway.
Well, 80% of the money we've printed is actually throughout the world. So we have to actually get that money back in order to fix inflation. It's actually hurting the rest of the world more than it's hurting us because of what we're doing and spending more money. This bill's $900 billion. Now, that's what they're saying it is, but if you look at the back end, when it comes to some of these social programs that they're starting, they're only supposed to last a year. As well as I do, is when you start a social program, it's there forever.
It never goes away. Right?
It's not going to be a year. It's going to be decades. So it's not going to be $900 billion. It's going to be closer. They're saying closer to 2 to 3 trillion.
Yeah. But you know what? At least, this is actually a good thing in a way, because they've taken the power out of the EPA. Now the Senate and the House are doing this, right? Which is the way it puts it. And elections have consequences. We elected these clowns. This is what they're doing. It's not like we didn't know who they were or what they would do. So in a way, this is a good thing. It's a step in the right direction, because, later on in a year or so, or later on this year, we have a chance to vote them out and put in people who won't do stuff like this. So it's a step in the right direction, at least. That ruling is very important, I think.
Right.
To take the power out of unelected bureaucrats, and we have no recourse with these people. They're not our elected representatives. If we don't like what they do, we have no recourse, and that's wrong. So
the bad thing about this bill, though, it gives the EPA the power back to the EPA, and it's allowing Congress to just give it to them, and then they could say, "Hey, we're not the ones that deciding these regulations; it's these guys here."
Yeah, and then in a perfect world, if a Republican Congress gets elected, they'll take that power back. Yeah, which is the way it has to work that way. Yeah, and they have to do it. If they get elected, they have to do stuff like that. So,
yeah, ruling by fiat is not how it should happen. Even if you'd rather have bad elected officials doing it the proper way than bad elected officials doing it the improper way, right? And so that there is hope that when the good elected officials come in, it will be reversed, which it will be. In the previous administration, one of the things, I'm going to finish this thought in just a second, but first I'm going to do a real quick commercial. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the chat session. And we just put out our second newsletter. So we're a fledgling operation here, and we have our second ever newsletter that just came out yesterday. And in it, Joel, you'll be happy to note that Jefferson is a contributor to this edition. So anybody out there who has not yet subscribed, go to thiswaynetwork.com and sign up for the newsletter. All right. Now, back on topic. One of that I learned early on in the previous administration, the Trump administration, that was so heartening to me, even though the opposition was still at him, the investigations were, the false Russia stuff, all of that was so distracting. but he was busy doing stuff. And one of the things that I found out that he did, that he implemented right away, that we still feel the effects of in a good way, that made our economy stronger and bigger than ever in history, was I don't know what the terminology is, they put into place for every new regulation proposed, you have to remove or abolish or rescind 2. Right. So for every new one, you have to go back through the books and clean out 2 that are either obsolete or that this supersedes. You can't leave all these things on the books. And only a few months into the administration, I heard that ratio, I mean, it was at least 2, right? So for every one, you have to remove at least 2. The ratio was 1 to 23. So in the Trump administration, there were 23 old, obsolete, calcified, ossified regulations that were being cleansed and stripped from the bureaucracy for every new one that was passed. And that will return with the new administration. When a new administration, even with the Republican Congress and a Democrat president, those kinds of things will happen. And so it's hopeful. The Supreme Court did the right thing by that West Virginia, you know, it was EPA versus West Virginia was the name of the ruling. Yeah.
It was EPA versus West Virginia.
And that came out in like a week, a string of amazing Supreme Court rulings, right? It was like the Second Amendment, Roe versus Wade, the EPA, and there was one other that escapes my mind, but there were 4 of them that just stood out to me.
No, they were rocking and rolling that right around then.
The other one was the guy that was allowed to got fired from his job for praying on the field of the football game.
The coach. Yeah.
That's right. Religious freedom.
Religious freedom.
Yeah.
So, Joel, I know you're politically minded, but what are you focusing on politically and otherwise this week, or what's on your mind?
Politically minded. You know, I'm not. You know, Mike, I always tell you, I'm not
church politics. Church
politics. I don't have much to say on this. Like Matt gave me this topic, and I'm like, I haven't kept up on that one.
Well, I got another one we could talk about, and that's Taiwan. And
that I've been keeping up on. If there's something that's been politically, I've been watching a little bit. It's Taiwan, yes.
And it looks like China started a blockade sometime yesterday against Taiwan. Of course, they're saying,
come on, Matt, those are just little exercises.
Yeah, it's just little exercises. And I actually got a map. I actually got a map of where they're doing the exercises at.
Okay.
There you go.
While you're pulling up the map, hold on. Just so you know, Joel, I have to jump out in about 7 minutes because I had to get to work early today, and so I want to hear your take on this. So just letting you know, I'm not going to lose connection. I'm going to dump out of here at 10 minutes till the top of the hour.
All right.
Now, this map, the blue line there, that is the sovereign waters of Taiwan. And there's also 2 islands here that's part of Taiwan as well, are administrated by Taiwan. It's Matsu and I can't remember. Kogori, I believe, is the other island. That's this one right here. And there, it's the one, if you look over there where there's a circle around it, it's that one there.
Okay.
And there, it's close to mainland China.
Yeah.
And what's going on is they're starting to do exercises and shooting missiles all around the island, and live missiles, even over the island. And they're in discussions with Japan as well as the Philippines to try to get trade goods into Taiwan, and they seem to be unsuccessful because it looks like they could get hit by the missiles and the other stuff they're doing.
Wow. Yeah. No, I think China sooner rather than later is going to move. They probably are very aware of our political situation. They can see that the tide is turning here in America, and we're not going to have, at least we're moving back towards administration that's not going to kowtow to them, and it's going to make life more difficult for them. So now is the time to move on. I mean, they've been threatening Taiwan for decades. As long as I've been alive, this conflict has been going on, and I think for them, it's now or never.
Yeah. It looks like to me what's going to happen maybe is they're going to take the 2 islands. That's going to happen. They're close enough to China, and they're going to go ahead and take those 2 islands now. And when it comes to Taiwan, I don't know if they have plans to taking it now or if they're going to wait a little while longer. But the blockade.
Well, I'm sure that'll be based on our response.
Yeah, the blockade.
They take those islands. They see how we respond, and based on that, they can engage.
Now, the blockade, I'm guessing, it looks like to me what it's meant to is to actually starve Taiwan out and make them say, okay, we'll join you. The other thing is it's going to hurt the rest of the world when it comes to the microchips situation.
Well, is it just the microchip? I mean, they can disrupt shipping lanes.
Yes.
A lot of the world's goods go through that part of the world.
Yeah.
If it's just microchips, I'll be thankful.
Well,
I mean, really,
it will hurt the microchip. It hurts the microchip industry. Getting like you said, the shipping lanes that not only does China use, Taiwan use, Japan use, and so does the Philippines and other countries in that area. They all use those shipping lanes, and now they're being blocked by China. Yep. So it's going to hurt trade goods all around, other than chips. Now, of course, it's going to, that new car you want, you're going to have to wait a little longer for that chip. So it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt that industry when it comes to new cars. It's going to hurt also, getting any kind of repairs done on like refrigerators, also ovens, dishwashers, so on and so forth.
Yeah. That's funny how we're right about when we need to replace all our appliances too in a house. Yeah. We bought a new house, we may remodel it, and so yes, things like this we've been spared from most of my life. The Cold War fortunately stayed mostly cold, but these kinds of things, we're more and more dependent. Globalism is a real thing. And it's where we've been moving my whole life. And that comes with a two-edged sword. I mean, we have lots of neat gizmos and gadgets, but we're also really beholden and counting on some really bad people and some really crazy parts of the world. So here we have it.
That's the underlying problem whenever you rely on other countries to manufacture your goods. Or even grow food for you. That if you can't sustain your own population when it comes to food, medicine, and goods like that, and you send it all to China. I mean, 90% of the medication in the United States is made in China.
Yeah. So, no, I don't know about you. I'm a little apocalyptical these days. I've got a garden going in my backyard. I'm learning. I figured I better learn to grow my own food. I can't, even a couple of years ago, what did we see? For the first time in my life, I saw empty shelves in the supermarket. I've never seen that before. It's time to change our thinking on some things and stop taking certain things for granted and start taking responsibility for our own situations in our own lives.
Yeah, so we need to look at things more like my grandfather did, who lived in during the Great Depression. And you had empty shelves a lot of times, and they were resourceful. They farmed their own food. They also had cattle, they had pigs, they had chickens, they had all that stuff, and they're self-sustained. And America needs to start doing that themselves as well as individuals at this point, because relying on the government to take care of you isn't always going to work out for you.
But I forget what part of the country you're in, but out here in Southern California, we don't have root cellars. We don't have a lot of room for orchards or farmland in the back. We're pretty much, we are beholden to the supply chain, the just-in-time supply chain, right? That's how it's set up, that everything gets to that supermarket just in time. And if that food is not in the supermarket for most of the people around here, they don't really even know where it comes from. It's always been there, whatever we wanted, and a plenty of choice too, an insane amount of choice. So there's an old movie with Robin Williams back from the 80s or something, when he plays a Russian defector that he comes to the United States. I think it's called Moscow on the Hudson. And he goes to New York, and comes straight from the Soviet Union, and he ends up in a grocery store, and he's at the coffee aisle, and he sees U-Ben, Folgers, Maxwell, and he has a nervous breakdown because he's never had a choice in coffee in the Soviet Union. It's like, no, here's your coffee. It's just, this is the only coffee we have, and this is all you get. He was faced with just all the choices in the world and as much as he wanted, and his mind couldn't process it. It's a great scene. He just literally breaks down right there in the middle of the supermarket aisle. But it perfectly encapsulates what we have and what the rest of the world doesn't. And,
well, it's also showing you how Hollywood actually showed you what communism was like. And now they're promoting communism.
Right.
So,
yeah, exactly.
It's just
and I mean, that's of all the things communism was, that was the least of it, is that you didn't have a choice of coffee. But yeah, you're right. These days they wouldn't even acknowledge that. So,
but what was it gonna? I can't remember what I was gonna talk about. But when it comes to, I'm not trying to say that obviously getting these microchips are the most important thing when it comes to this, but I think when the United States relies on China and even Taiwan in certain goods, it makes it harder for the United States and the people in the United States to understand where everything's coming from. Because right now we have a majority of food that we're getting now, 50% of it comes from other countries. A lot of it comes from Brazil. Brazil's, I believe, the second highest producer of food in the world right now. Really? And they're having issues with, I don't know if you paid attention to what's going on in South America, but they're having a bunch of protests and riots going on down there because of lack of food.
I did see that, yeah.
And it's because of some of this green energy policy that the rest of the world's trying to implement, and it's making it harder for you to create the food you want.
Yeah, they have that in Europe too. A lot of the farmers in Europe are up in arms.
Dutch farmers.
That's right, Dutch farmers. Yeah. So no, it's like I said, we're going to get one way or another. We're going to get an education on how our food gets to us, how our communications work. And you're talking about just cars with microchips, but you're probably too young. I don't know if you remember Y2K back in the year 2000, but everybody was.
I was 21 at the time when that happened.
Oh, right. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
You don't look. You look younger than your age, but
thank you.
So yeah, but that was the whole issue then. All those microchips are, all the computer chips and everything, because everything back then, was connected to these microchips. Well, now not everything back then. Now everything is microchipped. I can just imagine if our phones all of a sudden didn't work. Can you imagine our society would be people go around staring at their palms? I haven't looked another person in the eye in 5 years. They wouldn't know how to find anything that doesn't come through their screen.
Yeah, my oldest daughter would be that way. Well, what am I supposed to do? I'm like, you're supposed to go up to them and talk to them now.
Yeah.
But I live in West Virginia, and I do have a cellar. And I have 2 large fridge down there, and packed with deer meat. Because I'm a hunter.
Really?
I like hunting, and I like deer meat. So deer meat, right? Yeah, but it's good. And we also have cans and stuff like that down there. We're prepared, but I think more and more people need to go that direction. But I know in certain places it's hard to do, especially if you don't know how to can I did canning with my grandfather.
Yeah.
He did canning all the way till his time. But he taught me how to do it. And whenever we do a garden at my father-in-law's house, he has plenty of land, and we do a garden there with him, and we all can together and get it. It's a family event when we do it.
All right.
We get all the crops and everything, get it together, and then go ahead and can them, and we split them up between the 3 households that are there, which is my household, my father-in-law's household, and my wife's cousin's household.
Smart. Yeah, it really is. I mean, and so my wife thinks I'm a little crazy, but I'm like, I hope you're right.
Yeah.
I think in a year's time, I would love to look back this thing. Oh, can you believe how I thought there might be a food shortage or something, but
I think life's going to be hard for a little while, but at some point or another, it'll rebound. And I think we'll be back to the way we were. I mean, I think it'll be back now we should learn our lessons from it, though.
Well, what's the saying of hard times create strong men create good times create weak men.
Yeah.
And weak men create hard times. And hopefully that process will continue sooner rather than later, because we don't have strong men these days.
No.
So I think we're in for hard times. Yeah. So, but from your lips to God's ear, I hope it is short, because I would love I hate that we have done this. I tell my children all the time, I've lived just a charmed life, living, very easy, very prosperous, very free. And, I want that for them. I mean, I know we're just here temporarily on earth, and we should be more eternally minded, but I still would like, nobody wants their kids or their posterity to have hard times. So hopefully you're right. Hopefully it won't be too hard and won't last too long. Yeah. But so.
Well, we got 3 minutes left. When it comes to what you've been doing lately, what exactly have you been doing lately with CPC and everything?
Actually, we've been just continuing putting out as much content. Like I said, I am not a big fan of social media and our addictions to our phones and stuff like that. And yet I realize that's where everyone is. So we want to get as much good Christian content out there as possible. So we have this, this studio I'm in now is still relatively new. That's our new kind of hot thing now with CPC. And we're, we've been partnering with This Way Network here for the last couple months. And so, yeah, we're looking at growing, expanding together with you guys. So,
I'll just let y'all guys know all their links are down in the bottom description area, as well as ours. So go and hit like, subscribe, go watch the videos on everywhere you can find it. But not only that, check out our newsletter, of course. Michael already did advertisement, but I'm going to go in and throw it out there again. Check out the newsletter at www.thiswaynetwork.com. And if you do you have anything else you want to say, Joe, before we go?
No, I think we pretty much covered it.
Okay. All right, guys, this is going to be the end of the show. I hope you enjoy. And check us out tomorrow. We'll have Constitution Vet on. All right.
Well, check it out.
All right.
Thank you, Matt.
Yep, you're welcome.
Bye, everybody.